Hey guys, this is Twilight Night here with Geek Goons, and with me I have,
Big Papa Reese, of course. Who else would it be, right?
of course,
And actually, we aren't by each other for the first time in doing this. How does it feel?
it's pretty interesting. I
Do
mean,
you, do you miss me? Do you miss my presence?
come on, I gamed with you for years over the internet and heard your beautiful, sexy voice over the
Oh,
internet.
this is like gaming. Yeah, this is like fucking gaming. Maybe because I'm like more stationary and I don't have a controller in my hand. Like my mind can't go to the fact that, oh shit, this is like gaming. So yeah, maybe I need to put a controller in my hand before we start this so I can maybe get that feel, that visceral feeling.
So today we're going to be talking about our impressions from the Modern Warfare 2 remake beta. But before we get into that, let's talk about our history of Call of Duty. I mean, would you call us Call of Duty veterans?
Yeah, I'd say we are Call of Duty veterans.
I personally would agree. I would agree that we are.
And my reasoning for us being veterans, like we've been through a lot of wars. You know what I mean? We've had a lot of wars in our day that we've come out kind of different men, I think.
Yeah, we started with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 right when Call of Duty multiplayer started to like take off.
Yeah. Now you got me reminiscing. Fuck. Wow, we've really been that long. Sheesh. Oh man, we really are veterans at this shit. All right, what's your favorite out of all the ones we've touched?
I would have to say Black Ops 1. This is between Black Ops 1 and Cold War. I know I'm going to get a lot of hell for the Cold War statement because, there's a lot of people that
Really?
don't really like Cold War. Cold War took it back to like kind of boots on the ground, classic Call of Duty in a sense, but it was more modern, like in terms of graphics, movement. So that was like,
My wow was more of like, wow, I'm surprised that Cold War makes that in terms of top tiers. That one's there, right? If I were thinking of my top tiers, I would probably say Modern Warfare 3. I'm sure you knew that one already. Fuck it, I'll throw a curveball at niggas. I'll probably say it was either Advanced Warfare, that was the first time we started to jump around, or Black Ops 2. That would be my, that's kind of interchangeable.
okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
fair,
okay,
right?
that's fair. So, does this new Call of Duty hold up? With the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 beta, they introduced this new interface. Personally, I think it is over the top, but let's just start off with the basics. Like, what do you think about the navigation?
Something like Cold War, everything feels very, very tailored for the eye. You know what I mean? Nothing feels like it just crumbles together and it just like everything blurs as one. I think made both of us really like Cold War. And Modern Warfare 2 beta definitely had a lot of that kind of merging of everything. It's like, where the fuck am I? So I would definitely say that this had some jumbledness to it, and that made it a little hard to navigate, a little hard to just fall into.
In the effort to make everything in a more like flashy way, they made it difficult for you just to get to the things that you need to, and on top of that, you're already trying to scramble to find your bearings in between matches to edit a weapon, and they just added so many layers to this where it's just like, why do we do this? Like, they put all this on the screen to sort of make the menu dynamic, but to me, less is more. Like you just keep it simple and easy to read where you can just navigate through class, weapons, and perk. Editing it, like, just let me get to that as soon as possible to make the additions I need to, as well as messing with your classes, your weapon attachments, and perks, like both in and out of a match. I sort of found that a hassle. Like, I sort of had to go back several times to make sure the weapon attachments I select actually were selected, the perks I select were actually selected, which a couple of times they weren't, to make sure the class was how I wanted it to. And honestly, there were a couple of times I just like completely left the menu when I wasn't in a match by mistake, just went back to the main menu by mistake, just trying to navigate it. And
Yeah.
that was a mess.
It is a mess, and it really sucks when it doesn't have to be, right? So like we come off of Cold War, right? The first thing we got after Cold War was Vanguard. And Vanguard, it pissed me off, that interface, just because it was a copy paste, like a shitty copy paste of Cold War. And it's like, bro, you literally tried to do what Cold War did, but you made it look cheap, right? And then you get Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 beta, and you can see they tried to put something into it. You know, it has a decent feel. It has kind of like it says Modern Warfare, but it kind of had like an early future tone to it, I think. And they just kind of jumbled everything together. I think that this is probably not one of my favorites, but it wasn't too bad and something I could overlook if other elements of the game, you know, were better.
So right at the back, when jumping into the settings and trying to sort of edit the game, you know, look and feel, you know, because I like going into controller settings and get a custom feel. It was a little bit difficult to get to the settings. A lot of the navigation or the selection of certain menus are based around the analog stick, L3 and R3, or it's one of those. And it is extremely cumbersome to me.
So I'm looking at this this menu right now, and I maybe want to retract some things I may have just said, right?
Okay.
I'll say this. It looks a little clean. It has that kind of bland background that Modern Warfare is known for. So I'm not gonna just jump at it at that. Things are just popping out on this interface here. It's just not. It's not separated enough. Like, it feels that tone, like being bland, it just makes everything kind of go together where nothing pops out. So that's what I think we're experiencing when it's like hard to find.
And the fact that each like area takes its own, like moves the entire page, like
yeah, that's a fact, because you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say about it is that because they have so much going on the interface in terms of like the 3D aspect and all the visuals, it's sort of, I noticed it was lagging a little bit, might be because it's the beta, but I was not the only one that was experiencing a little bit of lag, and on it a little bit, like it wasn't moving as smooth as it should have.
I can believe that's, something to come to expect. Since we're talking on this, I'm looking at the gun system, the gun class system that you get to pick the moment you get into the map, and like you're picking your class. That looks messy. It's doing a vertical, horizontal thing when we're used to seeing it vertically, and it's not clean. It's not clean. It's just not. This adds into a little bit of the annoyance of the game.
Well, let's see how the rest of the game holds up. Matchmaking. So once we get past the menus, we finally get into a match. This game uses what is known as skill-based matchmaking, and basically what that is that it takes your performance on how you did in a match and uses that to get you into other lobbies. Now there's pros and cons of this. One pro being that it helps people find people that are closer to your skill level, and another one is that it should provide more balanced teams, quote unquote, should. So skill-based matchmaking was something that I believe was introduced in the original Modern Warfare remake, carried over to Cold War, Vanguard, and it makes its return here.
Yeah.
One thing that I just in general, even outside of this beta, that I noticed is that it discourages rivalries. So you know how when you get into a lobby, you play against a guy, get your ass kicked, or maybe you kick his ass, and you stick it out in the lobby to have a chance, redeem yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a classic Call of Duty love right there. You know what I mean? I agree.
Just completely gone. And I remember people on the community, especially on Reddit, has been very vocal over the past like years about wanting to eliminate that. And there's some understandable cons. Like, it makes it harder to make friends. Like, I remember back in the day when I would play Call of Duty and I would get in a lobby, and I just meet people just because I stuck it out in a lobby, and I like the quality of the people there. And I sort of feel like it's less personalized because of that. Because, like, you just get random people majority of the time. Every now and then you may get the same lobby, but it's just takes away this personalized experience from it that made it unique.
I definitely would agree, just because back in the day when Call of Duty, I remember being able to have more of a friendly setting, right? Like, even if there were people in there that were speaking vile and doing whatever, right? Like, it was still a place where I can get there and I can really enjoy who I'm in the lobby with. And Cold War, I actually think did that pretty well. Like, I enjoyed most of the lobbies we had in Cold War.
Yeah. It's just would suck when we get a really good lobby and then, like, it just would change. Like, the lobby would completely change. We get a good lobby, then the next minute we get like a team of 6-man stack that's just dumbing them out.
That's something that really sucks that I've just had to come to get used to. I don't know why they did did the matchmaking that way. Just because, like, what was the purpose trying to make the matches more balanced, right? I get that the balance was there, but I think that we can come to a better way to like try to do that, especially going forward in Call of Duty. But this didn't pop out to me in this Call of Duty here.
It also causes, in general, skill-based matchmaking a spike in difficulty. Like if you just have like one game where you're doing
Yep.
like stellar good, it's just like, hey, all right, this guy's a pro. Let's put him with like 6 other pros, and you're like, whoa, I'm good, but you know, like
That's a tough one to debate, right? Because I can definitely hear the other side of that argument of people just saying like, if you're that good, then you need to go there with those people, right? Yeah, and I was gonna say, and it makes you better, I guess.
But if you're like a 1 man or a 2 man, like you
Yeah,
dominate
that
one match, and then next thing they put you against a team that's a party, and you just got like randos, you're gonna get your ass kicked.
yeah, you're gonna get your ass kicked. That's fair. That's fair.
How do
Okay.
you feel about the gameplay?
One distinctive thing the last Call of Duty that we played doesn't have is when you're shooting your fucking gun, that screen will move relentlessly. You know what I mean? Like, it feels as though the whole screen is shaking instead of just the gun itself.
So it's very sloppy.
It makes for a much difficult shot on a game that has a bland background, right? Like things that don't pop out with each other. And like, you're telling me I have to aim at a guy with an iron sight or something halfway across the map.
Yeah, it seems like that the guns in this game, and from what I've heard as well from the community, is that they just super up the recoil on every single gun. Like even the attachments that I unlocked from the guns to reduce the recoil, to sort of manage it, just didn't work from the typical Call of Duty. It just seemed like in general that the attachments seem to do very little. Not to mention that there's no red dots when you shoot a fucking gun on here. So it literally just completely just takes away the point of having a silencer.
In using a few of the attachments, or trying to get some of the attachments, I've gone on the podcast and actually saying that it's pretty cool that what I thought they were going to do, right? Like the new way the gun system and the attachments work, but it didn't pop out to me, right? Like I got like a few attachments in the middle of playing the game, but it was nothing special. It was nothing that felt like it changed the game for me. Kind of missed the ball on the whole new gun attachment system thing. Didn't really pop out for me.
One thing, even outside of the guns, that I noticed was a big issue was the movement. It's not as clean when compared to the Modern Warfare remake.
They had a thing in the middle of the game that I was noticing, and this is, I think it's kind of a standard with this Call of Duty here, but well, with this brand Call of Duty, like Infinity War, Modern Warfare, is that whole double run thing. That's not the worst thing in the world, but it really does affect some of the game, and it gives more of like of an intense feeling. I'll give it that, but is it necessary, right? Like, is it absolutely necessary for the experience of the game? And I don't think it is, because I've seen other Call of Duties that don't incorporate that and they work just fine.
I don't mind the double run because it was in the original Modern Warfare, so I didn't walk into this thinking that they were gonna take that away. You know, it was
Right.
sort of his thing, but it's just it doesn't feel, the game itself doesn't feel as fluid as the original Modern Warfare remake. And one thing I noticed as well is that they have the footsteps way too loud. Like even when
Absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I will say this though, right? As we're getting deeper into this, I don't know how many minutes we are in it, but I do want to say that, dude, I think we may be the minority here, right? Like no surprise there, but I've talked to a lot of friends, right, and a lot of them seem to like Call of Duty. And when I was kind of bringing up my issues with the game, this beta, they didn't feel that, right? They mostly play like search and destroy, so they play a slower version of the game. But they were trying to give me some pushback when I was telling them like, hey man, this game just has this issue, that issue, and we were at odds with it, right? When I
Reddit.
tried to mention, what'd you say?
Reddit.
What about Reddit?
That is the most vocal community in there, and I'm telling you, they're ripping a lot of this game to shreds, especially the footsteps part.
Oh, Reddit is ripping the game apart. Oh, interesting. They are.
Yeah.
Okay. all right. I'm see now. Now I'm interested. So maybe we aren't the minority. That's really good. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm going to look some more into that because that's really interesting. Because when we talk about how this game compares up to the Call of Duty that we've been playing most recently, we say Cold War and we love Cold War, but a lot of people don't share that same love. So that's the part that weirds me out because we are the minority in liking Cold War, I think.
And I've taken that into account. And I've even been more so basing it off of my experience with the Modern Warfare remake, the one that this is a sequel of. And I mean, I've been able to sit down and get a flow with it. Granted, I'm not a fan of the bigger map and some of the mechanics in it, but I definitely enjoyed that a lot more than this beta. And granted, it's a beta, but it's certain things in here that I'm like, if they literally changed this, that would have to delay the game at least a month.
And we all know that they're sticking to their guns here. So that kind of puts a bummer on what we will experience. I think it may be something we can grow with, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic because I'm trying to think back on the game itself.
So, we've established the movement, we established the gun gameplay, but let's get into the meat and bones. And honestly, the biggest issue that we've had with this is the progression system. More specifically, the perks. So, how the perk system works is that you start off with 2 perks. In the middle of the game, you get something what's called a bonus perk. And at the end, or more closer towards the end, you get something called a ultimate perk. Now, the pros, or at least a supposed pro of this, is that it's supposed to create a more even and balanced match. Do you believe that, Reese?
I do.
Interesting. So, from my personal experience with it, is that right off the bat, it limits the playstyle. One of the greatest things about Call of Duty is that you can tailor your perk selection to how you play the game, and that would drastically change to how your character performs. You can get 2 of the exact same people that performs moves somewhat differently based off their perks, and you had to pick which advantages and disadvantages was more important to you, and that created a more, like I said, personalized system and more progression.
I agree.
Even with this perk system involved, one of the biggest Achilles heels, well, 2 big of the Achilles, is that one, ninja, or known as dead silence, isn't a perk. So that just puts you right in the middle of this situation where people hear you 2 buildings over. And by the time you walk into the building, open the door, someone's already aimed at you with a gun. And that's not if they have a UAV out, because with this game, since Ghost is an ultimate perk that you don't get until the end of the match, whichever team gets a UAV first and just spams it the entire match pretty much has the advantage and will dominate.
I definitely agree. And you can definitely see that in playing the entire game just for that beta, right? Like every time you open the door, and also you had to open doors. You get in there and the guy's already got the gun aimed at you. And it's almost as though you don't even get a fighting chance on something that we're just learning to play.
If he isn't already shooting.
If he isn't already shooting, right? Like, yeah, that really kind of destroyed the enjoyment of the game itself. Also, another thing, when you get killed by that person or when you kill someone, you aren't able to get some of the feel goods of Call of Duty itself, right? Like you don't get to see the deaths. I think we spoke to a couple. We took like a little bit of a census from some of the guys that we were playing with randomly. And I think we got people that pretty much agreed with us in these sentiments, correct?
Yeah.
I agree with the perk system. That should be that was a bad idea.
You know what I don't like? I don't like how messy the screen gets when somebody kills. Like it kind of fucks up your ability to be able.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Once you start getting shot, you're fucked.
Yeah, like once you get it, yeah. So you want to know something else, Dan? This is minor, but it's still a major factor in like Call of Duty for me.
What?
Is that they show you your kills and assists, but not your deaths, and I don't.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, you should be seeing that.
You should definitely want to see, like, I should see my amount of deaths. Like, that's a part of the Call of Duty experience. I don't like that they don't have that shit.
I don't know, I think all they fucking care about is their fucking Warzone now. I don't think they give a fuck about the regular game anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that shit, so it bothers me. I don't like battle royales. I fucking hate them. It's not me. Yeah, it's fucking trending. This is gonna be for the next like probably 5 fucking years at least.
It's gonna get like the way when it's gonna start going down is when it becomes so oversaturated to it that it's not even profitable.
Yeah. I think we mentioned the perk system. We mentioned the progression. We mentioned the not being able to enjoy certain things of the game, like seeing just the death count, the kill count versus the death count. I think that if we put too much blame on the perk system, though, we may not be adapting to it, right? Like, I think that could be an argument for some people, is saying that we aren't adapting to the new Call of Duty and making it work.
This sort of brings us to like the overall verdict. So, Call of Duty has been tweaked, and all these changes have been because of these tweaks to appeal to more casual players. And honestly, that's not what made Call of Duty great. It was these veteran hardcore players that, you know, kept buying the game religiously. The people that it's pretty much whenever Christmas comes, Thanksgiving comes, they have the new Call of Duty automatic. That was sort of the tradition, and all they literally had to do was improve on the Modern Warfare remake without changing the formula, and that's what they did. They changed everything.
I definitely agree. This doesn't give us the feel of what Modern Warfare 2 was in its heyday. I think that that's where a lot of the Call of Duty vets are pulling from, right? Like, does this hold up in terms of the old style Call of Duty, or at least even comparing it to the first Modern Warfare remake? Does this hold up, or does this advance the game? And I don't think that does. I'm not getting a real big feel of it. I don't know if I'll have to upgrade to this just for the sake of getting a newer Call of Duty and still being a part of the COD community, honestly.
So the newer generation will probably play this and think like this is like amazing.
No, yeah, for sure.
I think maybe this might be the end of like Call of Duty veterans. Like, this may be a new era of like Call of Duty gaming where it's like making a shift. They're taking it off for 2 years. Everything's switching to this battle pass model. Like, everything is just changing to the dynamic where if you were part of that old school that sort of brought Call of Duty to what it is, it's not the same thing. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we're experiencing the end of Call of Duty for us.
We could be, right? We definitely could be seeing it. I think we're adaptable. I think we try to adapt to something, right? Certain things just don't take. We've missed out on a few Call of Duties, Vanguard being one of them, Ghost being another. And I know we can maybe staying around, and hopefully they give us something to keep trying to come back to it. I actually think, to be honest with you, I think that we should do a system each year for Call of Duty like Pokemon does. I think we should honestly do like a red and blue, just as Pokemon does. Treyarch needs its option, Infinity Ward needs its option, and then we can decide in that moment, right? Like, you can make the games not necessarily compete, but you give Call of Duty more money by giving people an option, and people can choose what they want, right? I personally think that Treyarch has made a better run of Call of Duties, even though Modern Warfare 3 is my favorite Call of Duty of all time. But I think people should have that option. We should get that ability to say, yo, I want to buy this Call of Duty. We need that option, bro. We need that option.
Well, honestly, this beta makes me appreciate Modern Warfare Remastered a lot more. And hell, if the servers ever become shit on Cold War, I might switch over to Vanguard 100% just to not play this one and have a newer Call of Duty and still get matches.
Man, that really sucks. And it sucks so much. It makes it feel like, how long are we going to wait around for it? You know what I mean? Like, how long are we going to wait around for it to get good? And you want to think that, hey, maybe they'll tweak something on this Call of Duty too, but I don't think that they will. So how long do we wait?
Well, after this one drops, they're taking 2 years off. We got Overwatch 2. Whenever they decide to come back, they better come back strong. That's all I got to say.
That's a fact. High hopes for Modern Warfare 2 story mode. I will say that, though. I hope that it does do something. I don't know if it'll be enough for me to buy the entire game, but I do know that it's something that I'm looking forward to, right? Like, I might have to get some information from that because, again, the original Modern Warfare 2, I know it's hard to compare to something that was that's like a decade or greater ago, right? But that story mode is iconic in Call of Duty world. You all have an opportunity to make a story good. Please, please, please make it a good story. At least that's what I could hope for, because that was probably the best story in all of Call of Duty, and that's hopefully we can adapt to this new Call of Duty. I'll be honest with you, just because I like growing with the community too, because I know we're making our feels because we are Call of Duty veterans for real. Like, we really do this. But hopefully, you know, we can come to try to get in with these new cats, see what they can do, honestly.
That's right, my man. Well, this has been me, Twilight Knight, TK, and Big Papa Reese, or Reese. First impressions of the Call of Duty beta. Let us know what you think of it, if you agree or disagree, in the comments. And if you want to see more of our crazy conversations, go ahead and check out our podcast. You guys have a good one.
Peace.
I want to get out this map so fucking bad. I just want to get back to the lobby, but I can't.
Finally, nigga, I unlocked those, nigga. Finally, nigga, after all this fucking trial and tribulation.
Nigga, and that shit ain't about to do a fucking thing for you.
Shit, nigga.
Nigga got it.